251 million years ago, a world reborn from catastrophe, the Permian-Triassic extinction had begun. This is the Triassic period, the beginning of the Mesozoic era, a time of extreme heat and environments. But life finds a way. The Lystrosaurus, the ultimate survivor, quickly claimed the sparse, empty niches. Across the desolate face of Pangaea, these hardy, pig-sized herbivores became the most common sight.
In the few remaining pockets of water, a new kind of predator emerges, the archosauriforms, exemplified by the
Below the waves, the oceans too were beginning their slow, complex recovery, with new species of Below the waves, the oceans too were beginning their slow, complex recovery, with new species of The return of flora is slow but vital. Tiny shoots of cycads and ferns pierce the hard earth. Survival meant speed, adaptation, and small stature. These early, nimble reptiles mastered as the nights grew cold and the days scorched. Communal survival was key, sharing the hardships of a planet still in shock. But where water persisted, pockets of intense life thrived, setting the stage for the next great evolutionary drama. The Proterosuchus soon ventured further inland, its dominance pushing the limits of the newly recovering terrestrial food chain.
The Lystrosaurus was a living bulldozer, its design perfectly suited to tear through the toughest plants and ensure its continued survival.
Geological forces shaped the stage. The massive supercontinent Pangaea continued its slow, through millions of years, the environment began to stabilize, the great biological engine of recovery slowly picking up speed. Life was migrating towards the new green zones, leaving the barren heart of the continent for the promise of the coastal regions. Every drink, every meal was a risk, as the ecosystem began to find its new, brutal balance.
The rise of reptiles was undeniable, filling the empty aquatic predator roles left by the mass extinction event.
This empty, vast stage demanded a new kind of hardiness, a biological tenacity unlike anything seen before.
The ancient amphibians still clung to life in the dampest areas, but their dominance on land was already fading.
With archosaurs like Proterosuchus, the cost of survival instantly escalated, introducing a new threat to the land. This new predator was fast, powerful, and relentless, marking a brutal shift in the terrestrial food chain dynamics. The world was wide and dangerous, a massive supercontinent where the most adaptable, not the largest, were initially favored.
Below the visible animals, a hidden world of microbial life tirelessly worked to repair the planet's damaged foundation.
Even the smallest creatures began to diversify, seizing the opportunity to exploit every new ecological niche available. The environment remained volatile, a constant, brutal check on life, with massive storms sweeping.
For those that survived, evolution favored hardiness and the simple will to endure the continuous environmental onslaught.
But this tenacious existence was merely the beginning. The great stage was set for the next wave of biological innovation. As millions of years passed, the climate eased, the soil enriched, and the stage was reset for the great the mid-Triassic. A world transformed, a green, complex landscape, getting larger.
The jungles of the mid-Triassic exploded with life, powered by increased humidity and a stable, warm climate.
In the oceans, evolution moved towards the colossal. The Symbospondylus, a true giant of the deep.
On the murky riverbanks, the immense amphibians like Mastodonsaurus ruled, a relic of a past age.
The real power shift was on land. The Ticinosuchus, a relentless, four-legged archosaur, began to assert its dominance. To counter this new wave of predators, herbivores evolved mobile fortresses.
And high above, the first vertebrates took flight. Early pterosaurs claimed the air, mastering a world inaccessible to others.
The archosaurs were faster, stronger, and more aggressive. The older forms of life were quickly being displaced in the struggle for supremacy.
It was a clear victory of adaptation. The archosaurs possessed superior posture and locomotion, a key unchallenged in the deep. The ichthyosaurs evolved into true leviathans, pushing the boundaries of size and power in the marine world. Niche specialization was vital. Smaller reptiles began to colonize the trees, escaping the predators that patrolled the forest floor. The abundance of insect life fueled the entire food chain, providing a rich, endless source of energy for the growing ecosystems. Yet, the older giants still held their strongholds, their ancient ways securing their place in the damp, muddy backwaters. The superior, more upright limb structure of the archosaurs allowed for greater sustained speeds and efficiency. The competition drove innovation. Predators needed to be faster, and prey needed to be smarter in this intensifying arms race. Unnoticed by the massive apex predators, a new lineage was quietly taking shape, the dinosaurs, characterized by their unique hip structure. Their immense size protected them from all threats, establishing them as the unquestionable rulers of the deep Triassic water world.
Another new class of creature, the mammals, were already here, living low to the ground, small, and largely nocturnal.
The world was rich, the food chains established, but an even greater shift in power was urgent. The geological clock moved onward. As the Triassic drew to a close, a return to harsher climates the stage was set for the final act of the Triassic, a brutal contest between archosaur cousins for the mantle of absolute ruler.
Defense was paramount in the mid-Triassic. The armored etosaurs demonstrated that survival could be achieved through impenetrable protection.
The river became the nexus of life and death, where necessity forced both predator and prey into close, watchful proximity.
The success of the archosaurs lay in their specialized teeth and powerful jaw muscles, essential tools for a life of predatory action.
The sky belonged to the pterosaurs, their mastery of flight an evolutionary marvel that separated them from all terrestrial rivals. A perfect machine of the deep, the Symbospondylus utilized its speed to dominate the vast, open hunting grounds of the Triassic Ocean. Even among the dominant predators, competition for prime territory and resources was fierce, a continuous battle for the best hunting grounds. This natural armor offered excellent protection, a crucial advantage in a world where every encounter could lead to a deadly confrontation.
Meanwhile, the true dinosaurs were steadily growing, the vegetarian Plateosaurus signaling a push towards giganticism in the herbivore lineage.
The mid-Triassic flourished, a temporary equilibrium achieved through fierce competition, but time itself would soon upset this delicate balance. As the era approached its end, the planet's restlessness returned, foreshadowing the intense volatility of the late Triassic. The late Triassic, dinosaurs had arrived. Herds of Plateosaurus, the early giants, now dominated the continental plains.
Yet, the true rulers were not dinosaurs. The terrifying Coelophysis, a colossal crocodile relative.
But a challenger had arisen. The Herrerasaurus, one of the very first carnivorous dinosaurs, possessed a crucial advantage: speed.
The brute force of Coelophysis was undeniable. Its immense size allowed it to take down the largest herbivores.
The smaller Herrerasaurus used cunning and opportunity, a nimble hunter benefiting from the chaos created by the larger carnivores.
For now, the archosaur tyrant held the high ground, its sheer power and armored hide making it impervious to many threats.
In the oceans, the ichthyosaurs reached their peak size. The mighty Shonisaurus, a true...
On land, the future was literally hatching. Small, vulnerable Coelophysis emerged, destined to change the course of life.
Survival depended on instinct and speed. The mortality rate for these young dinosaurs was incredibly high in this dangerous world.
The Coelophysis mastered a new, powerful strategy: pack hunting, combining their agility into overwhelming group force. The plains were a chess game of survival, with size and armor providing protection, but speed always holding the upper hand. The dinosaur lineage possessed the blueprint for future dominance: the upright, efficient, two-legged stance, ready for speed and endurance.
The supreme archosaur needed no speed. Its intimidation alone was often enough to secure its claim over a territory.
In unity, there was strength. The combined effort of the Coelophysis pack allowed them to thrive where solitary hunters would fail. But the world beneath them was beginning to tear apart. the immense forces of continental drift.
Deep below the surface, geological changes were nearing a critical point. A massive eruption that...
Then, the planet erupted. The Central Atlantic magmatic province unleashed. The great extinction of the Triassic had begun. The changing climate and volcanic pollution proved deadly to the largest archosaurs.
The largest, most dominant life forms, including the mighty Phaseolasuchus and its kin, struggled to adapt to the sudden, drastic climate shift.
But the smaller, more agile creatures, particularly the early dinosaurs, possessed the size and metabolism needed to survive the crisis. The catastrophe wiped out rivals, clearing the path for the lineage that could better withstand the volatile conditions. The dinosaurs had weathered the storm. The stage was finally their own, with all major competitors removed from the scene.
The Triassic ended in fire, but the remaining dinosaurs inherited a vast, empty kingdom.
201 million years ago, the age of the apex predators had begun, and the dinosaurs. In the emerging Triassic forests, the larger herbivores, led by the Plateosaurus, began to exploit the canopy, seeking sustenance.
Every anatomical detail of the Herrerasaurus was geared towards efficiency, a prototype for the perfect land predator.
The massive Phaseolasuchus patrolled the vital waterways, ensuring that no prey could cross their territory without notice.
The strategy of the pack was their strength, allowing the Coelophysis to tackle targets too large for any single individual.
Below the turmoil of the land, the ocean's giants moved with a timeless, silent majesty, masters of a very different realm.
The fossil record itself tells the story of the great rivalry, the emerging Dinosauria challenging the established Archosaur order.
While the giants clashed above, the first mammals maintained a quiet, nocturnal existence, waiting for their own time. The environmental volatility was a continuous check on life, with massive fires forcing the movement and adaptation of entire species. Even the great herbivores were tested, their sheer size making them vulnerable to the environmental changes sweeping the continent.
The Herrerasaurus, relying on speed, used the chaos and confusion of the disasters to find new opportunities to hunt.
The vital lifelines were the few streams that survived the intense drought, acting as crucial corridors for movement and migration. The Lystrosaurus often congregated near these scarce resources, their presence shaping the immediate environment around the water. Patience was the predator's greatest weapon, relying on camouflage and the inevitable arrival of thirsty prey.
The ambush was quick and brutal, securing its meal before any larger threats could emerge.
The archosaurs were already experimenting with speed and posture, a precursor to the true dinosaurs that would later emerge. While some creatures sought speed, others focused on defense, creating a biological arms race in the early Triassic. The return of forests marked a significant milestone, altering the microclimates and providing new resources for the next phase of life. Their existence was an endless cycle of finding food and avoiding danger, a simple, yet highly effective survival strategy. The volatile weather brought brief respite, a sudden infusion of life-giving water to the scorched plains. New habitats meant new specializations. Climbing reptiles colonized the emerging canopy, safe from the larger land-based hunters. As the long, slow epoch of recovery drew to a close, the survivors of the Great Collapse had ensured life's continuity. Millions of years later, the mid-Triassic emerges, a world of complex jungles and immense oceans, ripe for giants. Humidity brought biodiversity, fostering an explosive growth of plant life and providing fuel for the great predatory archosaurs. In the depths, the Symbiosaurus embodied evolutionary perfection, a torpedo of muscle and speed.
Unchallenged by any other marine predator, this ichthyosaur feasted on the boundless bounty of the Triassic oceans. On land, the relentless Tissinosuchus utilized camouflage and stealth, a silent hunter in the humid, dense jungles.
The Archosaur's mere presence was enough to deter most rivals, its powerful physique radiating dominance.
The giant amphibians still held territories near the water, their colossal size making them effective, though static, hunters.
Above the land-based struggles, the pterosaurs rested, utilizing the high cliffs for protection and optimal launch points. Agility was the new currency of survival, a design feature that would soon be perfected by the dinosaur lineage. The unsuspecting herds were the lifeblood of the predators, constantly under threat in the open mid-Triassic plains. The ambush was meticulously planned and violently executed, relying on surprise and powerful bursts of speed. The ambush was meticulously planned and violently executed, relying on surprise and powerful bursts of speed. In the mid-Triassic, the older lineages were forced into a desperate, losing struggle against the rapidly evolving archosaurs.
Briefly rising to breathe, the Symbospondylus demonstrated its mastery of both the surface and the immense depths below.
The tiny, intelligent mammals remained hidden, scavenging and surviving at the edges of the archosaur's dominance.
The final phase of the Triassic arrived, and with it, the first truly immense herbivores.
The ultimate expression of archosaur power, the Coelophysis, stood ready to challenge the emerging dinosaurian world. The Herrerasaurus was a paradigm shift, lightweight, bipedal, and incredibly fast, a true sign of things to come. Isolation meant vulnerability. A lone herbivore was an open invitation for the late Triassic's many apex predators.
The attack was pure powwow, the Coelophysis utilizing its armored bulk and crushing bite to immobilize its colossal prey.
The clever Coelophysis packs understood the power dynamic, patiently waiting to scavenge or exploit the weakness of the dominant hunter.
The smaller, faster dinosaurs thrived on opportunity, avoiding direct confrontation with the mighty archosaur overlords.
The true titans of the Triassic oceans were untouchable, their immense size granting them peaceful passage across the seas.
From the earliest moments, the Coelophysis taught cooperation, a strategy that would ultimately ensure their lineage's future.
The dominance of the Coelophysis was asserted through sheer size and powerful, territorial displays. The nimble Coelophysis learned to exploit the weak points of even the most armored prey, utilizing strategy over brute strength.
The massive Pangaean rifting intensified, signaling the Earth's final, violent act of the Triassic period.
The cataclysm was unavoidable. Massive volcanic eruptions unleashed unimaginable destruction and climate chaos.
The largest animals suffered the most, their need for oxygen and vast territory unable to be met in the rapidly poisoning world.
The era of the archosaur tyrant was over, their supremacy extinguished by forces beyond their evolutionary adaptation. The smaller dinosaurs, lightweight and efficient, held the key to surviving the ecological bottleneck. As the volcanic dust settled, the world was left dramatically reset, its competition dramatically thinned. The survivors of the dinosaur lineage found an empty world, ready for a new, unparalleled era of growth and supremacy. The apex predators had fallen, the dinosaurs had risen. The next 135 million years would belong to them.
From the desolate ash of the Permian to the vibrant, green fields of the Jurassic,
the Triassic Age, a brutal proving ground where the fiercest competition forged the ultimate survivors, the dinosaurs.